Okay, let's just dive right into this explainer, because today we are completely dismantling that get-rich-slow advice we've literally all been fed. You know the drill, right? Go to school, get a good, stable job, meticulously save 10% of every paycheck, skip that morning latte, clip your coupons, and dump whatever's left into a 401k. The grand promise is that someday, when you're 65 years old and maybe sitting in a wheelchair, you'll finally be a millionaire. But today, we're cracking open MJ DeMarco's The Millionaire Fastlane, and we're going to focus specifically on the actual mathematical laws the truly wealthy use to completely bypass that agonizing waiting game. We're talking about building explosive wealth and retiring decades early, right in the absolute prime of your life.
So, we're kicking things off with a massive paradigm shift. Listen to this quote: "Compound interest is not responsible for my wealth. The wealthy absolutely do not use compound interest to get rich." Now I know, this completely flies in the face of almost every traditional financial guru out there who swears the stock market is the ultimate wealth creator. But DeMarco argues that relying on the stock market to build your wealth from absolute scratch, it's a losing game. Why? Because you are wagering your most precious, non-renewable asset, your time.
Section 1. The compound interest illusion. Let's explore exactly why the most widely accepted financial advice out there is actually a trap deliberately designed for a 50-year wait.
So here is the crucial distinction. We are contrasting the Slowlane mindset, patiently waiting decades for pennies to hopefully grow, versus the Fastlane reality of using wealth to generate instant, heavy cash flow and liquidity. You see, the middle class tries to use compound interest to get wealthy. They start with $5 and just pray it grows over 40 years. The rich, on the other hand, they use compound interest entirely differently. They use it to create passive income from the wealth they've already built, usually through a business. They start with $5 million, not $5. So ask yourself right now, are you currently trying to grow $5, or are you actively building a vehicle to generate $5 million?
Think about compound interest like a massive tidal wave. If you're saving, say, $200 a month in a mutual fund getting an 8% return, or even worse, a 3% yield in some basic savings account, it's like you are sitting a million miles out at sea on a tiny surfboard. The wave has absolutely zero power out there. You're just floating aimlessly. The force of compound interest only becomes incredibly powerful when it gets near the land. And this beautifully illustrates that point. When we look at the classic penny doubled chart over time, say from age 21 to age 40, the growth is just painfully slow. You're barely breaking $5,000 after decades. You are literally imprisoned by time. But the wealthy realize that to actually actuate the true power of compound interest, you have to completely skip those first 30 years of mathematical ineptitude. You apply compound interest only to massive sums of money, essentially meeting that tidal wave right at the shoreline where it crashes with exhilarating force.
Moving into Section 2, the real law of wealth. Because if the wealthy aren't using the stock market to create the wealth in the first place, well, we need to uncover the actual undeniable math they do use.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. We have to separate wishful thinking from the absolute unyielding mathematical law that governs all wealth creation. Look, we've all heard of the law of attraction, right? Visualizing wealth, thinking positive thoughts, making vision boards, and sure, belief is a great starting point, but it completely ignores the real mechanical secret behind wealth. Mathematics is the transcendent language of the universe. It doesn't care about your mood boards. The true law we need to look at is the law of affection.
Here is the definition. The law of affection states that the more lives you affect in an entity you control in scale and/or magnitude, the richer you will become. To put it super simply, if you want to make millions, you absolutely must affect millions. It can be directly or indirectly, but the amount of money you have is a direct reflection of the amount of value you have provided to the world. If you're broke, well, you simply aren't making much of an impact right now. To change your bank account, you literally have to change your impact.
Which brings us to Section 3, Scale and Magnitude. Let's break the law of affection down into its two practical, actionable engines to see exactly how this builds.
Okay, here is the Fastlane wealth equation. Net profit equals units sold, which is your scale, times unit profit, which is your magnitude. Wealth is generated exponentially when you totally remove the speed limits on how many units you can sell or how much profit you make per single unit. If your business is restricted to just a small local neighborhood, your units sold are capped, right? If your profit per unit is only a few cents, your magnitude is strictly capped. The Fastlane wealth equation requires you to completely blow the roof off of these limitations.
Just look at this table for a second. Whether you reach millions of people with a $7 book or just 14 people with a high-end luxury condo, the mathematical outcome of affection is exactly the same.
Joe Scale uses massive reach. He sells 8 million diet books. Huge habitat. Joe Magnitude uses price and value. He develops only 14 luxury condos, but he's making $400,000 on every single one. And look at the total net profit. Both men arrive at $5.6 million. Scale creates millionaires, Magnitude creates millionaires. And hey, if you can somehow combine them both, that's how you get billionaires.
You really have to ask yourself right now if your current vehicle is hitting a barricade. A local coffee shop simply can't reach millions of customers, meaning your wealth is mathematically capped by your physical location, no scale. Selling $1 margin sandwiches, that means you have absolutely no magnitude. And what if you're a highly paid staff doctor at a private facility? Sure, you have magnitude because you're saving lives, but you lack system control. The owner of the facility controls the system, so the massive wealth trickles up to them. Affection is always biased toward the architect of the system. To create Fastlane wealth, you absolutely must be the architect of a system that possesses scale, magnitude, or ideally, the whole shebang, both.
Section 4. Army of Freedom Fighters. Once you've leveraged affection to actually build the wealth, here is exactly how you deploy it so you never have to trade your precious time for money ever again.
Instead of viewing a dollar as just a way to buy a bottle of service at a club or, a flash new pair of shoes, you need to view it as a dedicated soldier. And this soldier's sole mission is to fight for your freedom. Every single dollar you save and invest correctly is a freedom fighter added to your personal army. The more soldiers you have, the more they fight to free up your time. You have to break that toxic equation of trading time for money by forcing your money to fight for you.
The truly wealthy use their massive armies of dollars to switch teams entirely. They become the producers, the lenders who collect the interest, rather than the consumers who pay it. Think about it. Right now, if you have a mortgage or a car loan, you are firmly on the consumer team. You're paying interest, which means someone else's money army is literally making them richer off of you. The ultimate goal here is to amass enough capital through the law of affection so that you cross over. You become the producer. You become the lender.
Check this out. When you deploy an army of $10 million at a highly conservative 5% yield, you make over $41,000 every single month. Just let that sink in for a second. Over 41 grand, dropping right into your account month after month. This is exactly what it looks like when you finally ride that tidal wave of compound interest at the shoreline, instead of floating aimlessly a million miles out at sea.
And honestly, the absolute most beautiful part of that number is that it is 100% passive. It allows you to live an incredibly rich lifestyle without ever touching a single dime of your original $10 million principal. You can live completely free. You can pursue your passions, travel the world, spend unlimited time with your family, all while your army of freedom fighters is in the background doing all the heavy lifting. At that point, you've officially retired, regardless of what age you are.
So I want to leave you with this absolutely crucial thought to analyze your own life path. Are you utilizing the true math of wealth right now? Take a really close look at your job, your business, and your investments. Are you relying on the slow, completely uncontrollable math of a standard salary and crossing your fingers for the stock market? Or are you actively building a system with true scale and magnitude, something that can generate a massive army of freedom fighters for you? It's time to choose your lane. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you on the next one.